So I think the first thing was I failed because I thought they wanted what I wanted at the end of the day. Like I thought they just wanted their asses kicked, like when I train, I want to kill myself, like it's like,
Yeah.
oh, so and so you think you're an unfit person. They feel so vulnerable going into fitness environments, but they're so, they're so vulnerable, so insecure. They're so self-aware. And the thing I often talk about is that these people have often tried and have failed.
Mhm.
So it's one thing to try, but if you've failed 5 times, every time you try to go back, the bigger the hurdle becomes.
Hello, it's Never About Money community. Following on with our health theme for this particular season, today's guest is Bevan James Eyles, a fitness coach, mindset mentor, and host of the Bevan James Eyles Show. For over 2 decades, Bevan has worked at every level of the fitness world, from elite athletes to everyday beginners who feel like they've failed at exercise more times than they can count. What makes Bevan's approach different is that he starts with empathy. He understands that most fitness advice is created by people who already love fitness, for people who are already successful at it. But Bevan's focus is on the rest of us, the people who want change but maybe carry shame, unrealistic expectations, and years of disconnection from their bodies. Through thoughtful systems, small wins, and a deep understanding of identity change, Bevan helps people rewrite their story, not just about exercise, but about who they are. So in this episode, I'm really hoping to explore fitness as an identity, not just as an activity. Why the health industry often fails beginners, but behavior change rooted in emotional safety and success. How health impacts performance in all areas of our life, designing systems that survive the chaos of our very, very busy and modern life, shame, environment, and the psychology of just starting again. And then the parallel lessons between finance, fitness, and self-belief. So welcome, Bevan. I'm really excited to have you on. I think obviously we've got a theme here with this season around health more broadly and generally. It's really going to be interesting to go through with you with some specificity around how we can potentially broach the topic of a personal exercise regime for those that perhaps have some resistance to it. So I thought we might start with a little bit about what makes you passionate about what you do and maybe a little bit about what you do.
Well, basically my whole life is health and fitness. And there's kind of a few different components to my experience in that. So, first of all, as a fitness professional, I've won like New Zealand Fitness Instructor of the Year 3 times. I've traveled all the globe, teaching other fitness professionals. So a lot of time teaching others about fitness and health and how to be better at that job. I've also have a business here in New Zealand, which is a running business where we get people, we target all types of runners, but we have a real specific beginner product that's just really good at getting results. Then there's also my own journey. So fitness was a bit of a life changer for me. I was a bit of a drop kick as a kid, and then luckily found fitness in my late teens, early 20s. And so from there, I went on to achieve quite a lot. Like I raced very much as an entry-level pro triathlete. I was averaging anywhere from 25 to 35 hours a week at that stage. My biggest training week was like 70 hours of exercise. So I kind of had this 2-part dimension when it comes to being a fitness professional. I've just gone through a lot of adversity myself and a lot of growth and understanding about high-level fitness within my own journey. But more importantly is I've helped other people from all levels. And I think what the downfall is nowadays is a lot of people, especially in this kind of social media world, is there's a lot of people who haven't actually ever helped people, but they're really good at giving advice. And they might even be they might have gone through their own journey and they just think that everyone just needs to do their journey. And I think that when it comes to choosing fitness professionals, we want to get people who have actually helped people like me. And so I feel fortunate that I've kind of had both sides where I've kind of had my own journey, but actually have also helped all levels for like 25 years.
But it sounds like, Bevan, that you were quite capable and quite strong once you discovered your passion for fitness and running and everything that you've done. Like, and that's the case with a lot of health let's call them health gurus or health professionals, where they start really actually fundamentally enjoying the exercise that they're doing. But you're also dealing with people that fundamentally often dislike and don't enjoy, and may even not be biologically that predisposed to being a high level athlete. Like how do you deal with not just, so you can be a great piano player, but being actually a great piano teacher to those that actually want to learn but aren't potentially going to be concert pianists.
Yeah, what's really interesting is often I talk about when I first started. So when I first started working in fitness, I kind of had found my fitness bug myself, and I went into an environment, a very popular gym here in the city I live in. When you're working in a gym environment, you tend to be working with people who are already fit. And one of the things I often say is the fitness industry is really good at helping fit people, but we kind of really suck at helping unfit people. And early on in my career, I was that. So I was experiencing lots of success very quickly. People loved what I did. I pretty much became one of the biggest drawers at my gym very quickly when it comes to getting people to my environments. And the traits that I had at that time was things like I was just energetic. I was so motivational. I always was able to push people to that next level. So if you're already into your fitness and you come to my environment, you just loved what I did. And a lot of people, I know that you're into your fitness, Joe, and so I'm sure, when you think about doing exercise, the thing we often say with people who already have a great routine is all they want to do is walk away knowing that they've gone to the next level. At the end of the day, that's basically the feeling they want to get from their workout. So then I've been working in fitness for like about 10, 12 years, and that's when I started my beginner group. And I started this, so I've been doing a half marathon running group for a period of time. And it was all those traits because the half marathon group was basically people who were already runners or people who were gym fit and wanted to run. So it was kind of like I was just transferring what I knew from the gym to a running environment. And then after a few years, I thought I want to start a beginner running group because I was kind of like, well, I want to get more people moving. So I started this bigger running group and I did a trial. I think I did a trial. I can't remember how many, but let's say I had 30 people in a trial and all of them failed. Like, none of them ran 5Ks. Like, the guy there was kinda like a 𝐁𝐞𝐯 program in a community environment, and none of them succeeded, and it was a real hard moment for me in my career because it was like, if you'd asked me before that moment, do I know about exercise? I thought, "Mate, I know everything about exercise," without being cocky, but, all my evidence has showed me that I knew how to help people be successful.
Yeah.
Suddenly, I'm a different category of people, and I actually didn't know what I was doing. And I actually just failed these people, and it was quite a hard moment for me because it made me just realize, geez, I've got a lot to learn. And so luckily I didn't give up on that. And I worked really hard over the next period of time. And, our beginner 5K group now, we have a 90% success rate. So 90% of the people who join our program achieve their goal. And think middle age, overweight, insecure and vulnerable around exercise. So we just learned what was the physical and psychological journey somebody like this needs to go through. And then how do you take them on a pathway where they're actually building, because I think what I've learned is if you can get somebody doing nothing and you can get them to about a year to 18 months of a habit, they'll stay at exercise for their life. So the thing I'm trying to do is how do I get someone from the start point through to, in the running environment at least, through to running for about a year to 18 months. They'll run pretty much for the rest of life unless something dramatic happens. And so I've been really fascinated with that part of the fitness journey in the last, well, for a long time, my journey, my career.
So I'm kind of fascinated with what you identified as being the reasons why you failed to begin with, and like what you have done to really kind of understand the psychological profile of those that require the assistance.
So I think the first thing was I failed because I thought they wanted what I wanted at the end of the day. Like, I thought they just want their asses kicked, like when I train, I want to kill myself, like it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
oh, so and so you think you're an unfit person, you they feel so vulnerable going into fitness environments. But they're so vulnerable, so insecure, they're so self-aware. And the thing I often talk about is that these people have often tried and have failed.
Mhm.
So it's one thing to try, but if you've failed 5 times, every time you try to go back, the bigger the hurdle becomes. And so they came along and I just gave them what I thought I wanted from a workout. And so my fundamental flaw was What I want's not what everybody needs. And so then from there, I just spent a lot of time trying to learn. I did a lot of surveys, a lot of talking to people, a lot of trying to understand what exactly their journey was. And so some of the things I learned was one of the most important factors is we've got to understand their start point. So the start point says, where are you psychologically and physically right now when it comes to your exercise routine? Like, where are you exactly right now? Now, as a fitness professional, I really need to get to understand that point, because the journey I'm trying to create for you to go down, if I get that first point wrong, you'll probably quit pretty quickly. Because the thing we've been like, if we go back to these people who've tried a few times and have failed, they've won that experience and they quit. Because it just reinforces all that internal dialogue they have around exercise. I suck at exercise. I'm never going to be able to do this. You come along the first session, it's way too hard. It just reinforces, hey, I shouldn't be doing this. So one of the first things I started to understand is we've got to figure out their start point. And so what I learned with the beginner running group is the first session they come to, mate, they just can't fail. It's so easy they can't fail. But for these people, it's still a little bit scary. So they come along the first session, we just make it physically that they can't fail. Now, what happens there is they leave that first session and they feel successful. And it's a really, like, to me, for someone who's not doing exercise right now, in your first period, all we should be doing is creating successful experiences for you. Because what happens is you come along and you go, shit, I did it. Man, who would have thought that I could do this? And what that makes you think is, well, maybe I can do the next session.
Mm.
And then what we're doing is, as a fitness professional, what we're trying to think about is what's the right stretch for this person. So they come along the first session, they have an emotional and physical win. They have a few couple of sessions at that level, and then this is often where people cock up, is then they make the next stretch too far. So let's say you've come along the first session, let's just say it's like 3 minutes of walking and 30 seconds of light jogging, and you do that like 7 times. Well, early on, I would have then gone, oh shit, you did really well the first week. Let's go to 3 minutes running the next week. But the jump was too high. And so when we're navigating their journey, what we've got to make sure we're doing is that we get that start point right so they feel successful both physically and emotionally. But when we're trying to stretch them, we're doing it in a way which is enough stress so they're going to progress on their journey, but still feels comfortable enough. And this is what's really interesting in our running journeys, because we've figured out that stretch journey. And there's a couple of things that always happen. Basically, about 6 weeks into the journey, they always say 2 things. They say, Bevan, you're not going to believe it. When I see other runners, I think I'm like them. Now, this is a really important moment for them, because what's happened is there's started to be an identity shift. Suddenly when they're driving their car around, they see a run, they think, I'm a runner too. Now, that's a really important moment because an identity shifts happen. The other things they tell me, Bevan, you're not going to believe it, I enjoy running. So suddenly their exercise experience is changing from this thing of, I hate running, I'll never be able to be successful.
So this leads me, because it's been kind of in my mind around this concept that I've got, for me anyway, around win-win-wins. I call it that, right? And it's the idea about doing one thing that not only helps in one area, but can help in multiple areas. So as an example, the idea of, if you exercise, I want to do exercise, so let's walk. That's great from the perspective of longevity, health, all of those things. But also I get to meditate potentially, and also I get to go out in nature.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
I'm getting several aspects of what I need in one sort of thing. So do you try to incorporate,
Oh,
I
big time.
suppose, meaning in what people are doing, rather than it just be, here's a standard strength and conditioning list, go through these exercises and see you later?
Nothing I would
To
do would
really
be
make
that,
it
because
feel?
I find it boring.
Yeah.
So for example, in Christchurch, I've started a middle-aged men's fitness product recently. I've been trialing it for the last kind of 4 months. We had like 14 guys trial the program. All of them have lost a lot of weight. All of them are like 100 times fitter. One guy sent me a text the other day, said he cried because he jumped on a scale and how much weight he's lost. Like, now, there's a programming component to what I've done. Here's the workouts. That's the easiest part. But what I've done is each week we get together as a group and we do a group. And the way so as a fitness professional, what I'm thinking about is, how do you have a deeper connection with the guys in the group by the end of this workout? So I'm not just thinking about what's the physical result you need. I'm thinking about, how do I build better community? How do I build better belonging? How do I do, that you actually feel you had a shared experience, so you actually feel more connected to this person in the group? So the way I'm designing the workout, so they have two purposes. Is A, I'm getting the physical outcome I desire for this person, but B, the belonging of the group becomes a stronger thing. And then actually what we're doing in this group is, then what we do is we do a stretch, and then we actually sit down and have a group discussion around healthy men stuff. And it's been really interesting watching these guys, because basically there's so much trust in the group. Because when I first started this, like, this has been only going for like 4 or 5 months, and when I sat down, I was like, "Oh, I wonder," guys, people say guys don't want to talk, and don't want to open about big stuff. And I was like, "I wonder, I'll try this and see what happens." Well, the conversations we're having are raw, are deep, are emotional, talking about big stuff, and everyone's just been really raw. And obviously I've done something right that's created an environment that's safe for these guys. And what's really cool, like, here's an example. So last week at the end of the session, one of the guys said, "Look, I've got a toxic person in my life, and they're kind of owning my mind space. And I'm not sure what to do about it." And so I just opened up to the group. We had like 20 guys in the room, and I was like, "Guys, what do you do if someone's toxic?" And they all talked for like 15 minutes about it, and kind of just shared ideas. And then we have a Facebook group, and in the Facebook group that day, one of the guys, who's actually one of the quieter guys in the group, just put a post up there and said, "Look, I've literally just come out of an interaction with a really toxic person, and normally it just own me for the next 2 days. And I applied the strategies, and I've just let it go straight away."
Mm.
And going back to your kind of, like, what you call win-win-win, I call good on top of good, is how do we just layer as much good into the experience as possible? And so when we think about exercise, because exercise, the physical is obvious, but so many other benefits. And that's when we go to groups, because it's like, people who join my running groups, they end up making their best friends for life, because you're having these positive, because when we think about social nowadays, a lot of social is drinking and eating, isn't it? It's alcohol and food, and often in excessive ways. If you go to a healthy environment where everyone's feeling good about themselves, where everyone's growing, where everyone's supportive and fun, and you build friendships, and then you build mental health, because you're willing to talk to these people about big things. And so, yeah, I just think that if the more, and it kind of goes back to choosing again. So again, if you're someone who's listening to this and doing nothing, first of all, you've got to find a person who's helped people just like you. Ultimately, they have an environment. And you want to go along and really think about, what does this environment do for me? But if you came along to my running group, by the end of the session, you'll know 3 other people in our running group. Why? Because we train our coaches on this, because it's really important.
Mm.
And so if you can, it's just, once you do this stuff, exercise becomes easy, because suddenly if your mates are where you exercise, well, you're just going to turn up because that's where your
It's
mates are.
brilliant, because we got a lot of clients that are, retirees, and retirement is very difficult for people. Often they lose social connection and
Oh, big time.
community. And so the ability to be able to not only look after your health, but also build a community and connection is great. And I just wanted to say as well that exercise isn't binary in the sense that we can just either run or nothing. I mean, there are variations to, what we can do. As an example, dancing. You
Yep.
can dance with your partner,
Yep.
build connection with your partner, learn a new skill, and also it's a form of exercise, but you don't even feel that it's a form of exercise.
Well, my thing around that is, because being the guy I am, people always ask, what's the best exercise? And to me, it's the stupidest question, because what people are saying is, when they ask that question, is what's going to get me the best results. Ultimately, they want the answer. Now, the problem to that question is, well, what's the best exercise? Just, well, are you looking to be stronger? Are you looking to be more flexible? Are you looking to be cardio fitness? The answer is the movement you love.
Yes.
If you find dancing, if you find CrossFit, you find Hydrox, if you find a team sport, if you find cycling, look, I'm a really good example of that. I've exercised my whole adult life, and to very extreme levels. When I first started, I was a weights guy. I was in the weights room trying to turn around. Then I got into group fitness, and I was like aerobics and all that type of stuff. And then I did triathlon to a real high level. And then I had a running block. In the last 18 months, mountain biking. And like yesterday, me and my mum went for like a 7.5 hour mountain bike ride here in Christchurch. And I was like, I'm in heaven. And mate, getting up and doing a 7.5 hour bike ride yesterday was not a chore to me. I was so excited. I was like, man, I'm going on an adventure, because I love mountain biking.
Yeah.
And if you can find a movement you love in an environment and with the community, you do the things you love, don't you?
Yeah, it's ultimately sustainable. It's another, you've dropped a layer of resistance, haven't you? You've made it more appealing, I suppose. So I really like that. It's also struck me that we're talking about exercise and why it's important. Well, we're talking about the fact that it's important without really going into the why is exercise. Why do I even care to have this conversation at all? Why are we having this conversation? What's so important about exercise? Who cares?
Okay, so it's a really good question, and I think when we talked before, I talked about my 4 models of exercise. So there's this guy in my book, I Will Make You Passionate About Exercise. I talked about the concept of 4 types of exercises. So one is the person who's doing nothing, which, without being scientific, is probably about 50% of our populations. So, and when we look at the person who's doing nothing, they are have no routine, have no exercise, have insecurities around exercise, have fixed mindsets around exercise. Then we have what I call the yo-yo person. So the yo-yo person loves the 6-week challenge because they want the quick fix. So the yo-yo person will sign up for the 6-week challenge and often even do really well in it. But then once the challenge finishes, they just go back to square one. So they have moments of being successful with exercise, and then ultimately they just fall away. And ultimately what tends to happen with the yo-yo person in the long term is the yo-yo person becomes a non-exerciser because they don't actually get long-term results. As they just have these moments where they feel good, but then ultimately it just becomes dissatisfying because you don't get the long term. That's probably, let's say that's 20% of the population. The next 20% is what I call the habit. Now, the habit to me is the minimal level we should be getting people to. So the habit is you've just got a really good exercise routine. You know, you know you're going to tune up and you're going to do your workouts 4 or 5 times a week. If you go on holiday, you know you're going to keep your exercise up. When you get back from holiday, you're straight back into your routine. You know all the soft skills as well. So you do know, hey, I need to be in an environment. You know how to pack your bag the night before to make it easier. You're just on top of exercise, and this is such a great place to be in life. The next is what I call the thriving person. Now, the thriving person is the person who's getting the most amazing benefits from exercise, and that kind of goes to what you're talking about before. So the most amazing benefits are they get results. They are the person who's getting faster, fitter, leaner, stronger, whatever. You know, they get physical change in their life. Secondly, they get esteem and possibility. Because one of the greatest things about exercise is that you build esteem within yourself. Any adversity journey, you build esteem within yourself. If you go from I can't do this to I can do this, you build esteem in yourself. So what tends to happen is you start to build an inner confidence in yourself around I can do hard things. And often this is one of the real awesome benefits around exercise is that we get this with our 5K runners is that they've been someone who's, restricted themselves. They do our 5K program. They said, Bevan, you're not going to believe it, but I actually went for a job that I always thought I should go for, but I never go for because now I've got a bit more belief in myself. So they build this inner belief in themselves because why? Well, I've overcome adversity. But the next thing is actually what happens is as belief opens up, possibility opens up as well. So if I have grown myself, then I say, well, if I've done this, I can do this. And so the ambition you have in your life actually gets higher because it's like you see more of what you can be, the more belief you see in yourself. It's almost like you climb a mountain, think, geez, man, look at this. And then you see the next mountain, but you go, I can do that.
I really resonate with that idea of doing hard things. I know it sounds really trivial and silly in some ways, but waking up in the morning and having a cold shower is something that a lot of people joke as being horrifying, but honestly, it's a very controllable thing, and you do it, and then you come into work and you think to yourself, well, I've done a pretty difficult thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Or you've done a strong exercise session. All of a sudden you're sort of thinking to yourself, well, I'm a person that has some sort of resilience and some strength here. I can get through whatever challenges are thrown my way.
And does it help you in other areas of your life?
A whole host of them. I mean, I honestly feel that exercise for me is as much about my mental health and the clarity of my thought and the ability to do this that we're doing right now. If I'm not, not exercising, my mind is cluttered. I don't feel as calm. I don't feel like I can show up with my clients as well. It is because I've been lucky enough to have experienced regular exercise. When I'm not doing it, I'm super sensitive to it. I don't like the feeling. I don't feel optimal. I don't feel I can front up and be successful in what I do.
Yeah.
So, I imagine there'll be some people out there that have been don't know any better than where they're at. But I can tell you from my personal experience that, health and exercise is an absolute bedrock and fundamental of the way that I show up in the world, and it impacts everything that I do.
And it helps you be a higher performing self.
Yes, absolutely.
And it helps you feel better about yourself.
1000%, if you can say that.
And do the people in your world get a better version of you because you do this?
Yes. I mean, my mother would say to me things like, "Oh, you're very patient with me today." I said, "I'm not usually patient with you, Mum." She went, and I'm like, "Yeah, that's because I flogged myself during a HIIT class."
Yeah, yeah.
But honestly, yes, the answer is absolutely. Again, it just I'm a go person,
Mm.
and with exercise, it just gives me that little bit of slow down, take a breath, be a little bit more present.
Mm.
It just does a lot.
Well, it's, and talking about going back to benefits, why exercise? Well, mental health, well, focus, well, all this stuff you just identified there. It's interesting in the men's group that I've done because, we address alcohol and a lot of men drink as a stress release. And one of the guys said, and it was a bit of a scary moment actually. He just said, I didn't realize how much I was drinking. And then since doing our program, and he said, and I got home from work one day and I realized my kids are asking me if they could pour my alcohol when I get home from work. Then it was like, I was subconsciously, they've been doing it for a long time, but I just never actually saw it. And now these look after his health and they're like, this guy's not drinking at all during the week now. Purely just because look after his health and fitness. And so when, you identified there is that you're a calmer, better version for the people in your world. Well, when we think about stress release, because unfortunately for a lot of people, the way we deal with stress makes your life worse. So how do most people deal with stress? Well, it is eating too much, it is drinking too much, it is disconnecting with our world, it is poor sleep. So all those things and many other things, drugs, domestic violence, all the rest of it. When we think about these things, they make your life worse.
They do.
So if you drink or you eat, you're going to put on weight. So then you're going to feel shit about yourself. Then you're going to disconnect with people because you're going to get frustrated with people. So then what you do, you eat more. And this is the problem with how people, because I look at my men's program, the first habit we're trying to build is a planning habit and just a basic movement. The second habit we're trying to build is stress management, a healthy stress management. Because if we can healthily get you to deal with the stress of your life, you're kind of being the version that you identify within yourself right there. Now, for you, movement's a massive part of that, and I fundamentally believe it is. There are other tools people need as well, but if you can have movement as a part of your life, your mental health is just going to be better. It's not the be all and end all, but I guarantee your mental health. So, mate, life experiences, other benefits. Like me and my mate, we went for a 7.5-hour bike ride yesterday. And I always love this concept of how many days in your year will you remember for the rest of your life. It's a really interesting way to think about life. And like yesterday, I'm going to remember it for the rest of my life because I had an awesome time with one of my best mates who did this crazy ride. I was pouring rain for 5 hours with it. Mate, loved it.
Win-wins,
Yeah. So mate, benefits, and you will lose weight, and you will have more energy, and you will, we had a lady who did our program, our 5K program, a lady called Leanne, lovely lady, middle-aged, maybe early 50s, quite a lot overweight. And she told this really cool story where she had 2 teenagers or whatever, and they go to the park as a family, and they'd all get up and play touch rugby, and she'd sit on the sidelines just wishing she could play. Like, she just sat there just jealous and envious of this experience, but knew she couldn't because she just had no fitness. And she ran 5K with us, and I rang her the next day, and I was kind of saying, hey, well done, and, proud of you. And she goes, Bevan, I loved that I ran 5K yesterday, but you know what's even better? Went to the park with my family today, and when I got up and I played touch with the family.
Amazing.
I've wanted that for years. And it's those things, that make benefits just unfold.
Absolutely. I mean, I have just adopted a new technology in the practice where we to try to work out how many years of working life and retirement life and extended aged care. The creators, one of the people who are involved in the 23andMe adventure, created this sort of questionnaire which actually gives you a personalized view on your longevity. And one of the greatest movement that goes on with your longevity, the lowest hanging fruit, is those that exercise. It has a single greatest change to your longevity profile.
Really? There you go.
Just on the exercise itself. So it is, not just the given that we're talking about. This is fundamental. And
So here's one thing that's really important. Where are we trying to get you? So let's say you're someone listening to this right now and you're doing no exercise. So where we're trying to get you to is we want you to become the person who has a strong identity. And we've talked a little bit about that, so I'll touch on that quickly in a second. But ultimately, you prioritize it no matter what the conditions of your life.
Yeah.
That's where we're trying to get you to. So like the thing about like you and me and the people who listen to it who are kind of just preaching to the choir too,
Yep.
is no matter what, you wake up in the morning, you go, how do I fit my exercise in? That's what we're trying to get you to. Because if we get, the thing is, there's always an example of somebody, let's say you're someone who's not exercising right now and you go, but Bevan, I don't have time. I've got 3 kids, I've got a busy career, blah, 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 all these things. Now, I get it. You've got a busy life. But I can show you someone else who's got the same life as you that exercises. And what's the difference? That's prioritizing it.
That's right.
That's the number one. That's where we're going to get people to. Now, we've got to build the evidence. We've got to build the experiences. Because I love this idea of you want to do something long enough that you realize you're stupid not to do it. Like for me, admittedly, it's been years since I haven't exercised. But if I were not to exercise, instantly my life would be going downhill pretty quick. And so, for me, I've just got to the point where I was like, why would I not exercise? I'm stupid. If I don't exercise, I'm going to become a crap version of myself. So for me, it's easy to prioritize. It's just like, well, this is how I stay in a good version of myself. And that's where that's to me, the ultimate end point is where, here's a really cool story. I was in a place called the West Coast here in New Zealand a couple of months ago, maybe about a month ago. And I was staying in this motel and there's this lady who was 79 years old. And she was a bit of a trooper, a bit of a character. And she'd ridden the length of New Zealand this year. So she went on her and her husband, he had a caravan and they rode the length of New Zealand like over a month. And I just looked at her and I go, she's my people. She's even at 79, she's prioritizing exercise. And I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to be the old guy who's still bloody moving around doing stupid, crazy stuff when I'm old. And that's where we want to get people to. Now, you don't have to be doing crazy stuff like riding New Zealand.
I was going to say, Bevan, like it's not about necessarily telling people that every day they need to exercise or they need to do these credible things. Like, there's a reason that on the questionnaire it says, are you between 0 and 3 or 3 to 5 times exercise? Like there is benefit and actually more benefit in that just getting you from doing nothing to doing something is huge benefit than from something doing a lot, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And the thing is, I know I'm extreme. And I know there are people like me who are extreme. Like I know what I do is extreme. And I'm not saying you need to be me, but I have this concept I call baseline behaviors. So baseline behaviors is, there's a version of you that's progressing. There's a version of you that's staying in the same place, and there's a version of you going backward. And when we just think about the behaviors around each of those areas, what we want to say is we never want to go below but the behaviors that show me that I'm going backwards in. So let's just use sleep as an example. So for me, I like to have 6 quality night sleeps a week. For me, that means, now you can't guarantee sleep, so it's more the behaviors I have around sleep. So for me, my behaviors are, I'm in bed, I get up at 4:40, so I'm up very early. So I'm in bed by 8:30 to 9. My phone's not in my bedroom. We don't have a TV in the bedroom, so it's a very sleep-friendly environment. I pick up my Kindle, because I Kindle, basically if I read, and I don't read nonfiction, I only read novels, because novels put me to sleep. So those are the behaviors that if I do those, there's a pretty good chance I'm going to get 7 to 7.5 hours sleep in a week, but I'm not. Now, my aim is I want to do that 6 nights a week. 1 night a week, I like my rugby league, and in New Zealand plays late. So normally 1 night a week, I will take my phone in the bedroom, go to bed and watch a game of league on my phone 1 night a week. Or if we go out socially, I'm late home, So basically, that's my baseline that I'm trying to sit in. If I have 3 nights a week where I don't do those behaviors, what I've got to do is I've got to catch that I've slipped below them. Because what a lot of people do is when people are slipping, they don't catch it early enough. So what happened, let's say I had 3 nights a week where I was taking my phone into the bedroom and I wasn't doing my behaviors. But then 6 weeks later, it's just my norm. Well, I'm slipping in myself because we have bad sleep, we're a shit version of ourselves the next day. And so what we're trying to say with baseline behaviors is what's the minimal level that keeps me in a place that's good enough? And so like for me with no, I'm probably not the best example, but for me with exercise, it's 6 hours a week of minimum is my minimum. Now, admittedly, I tend to do anywhere from 10 to 14 hours of exercise a week. But if I had a week where I went below 6 hours, I'm just going, hey, Bev, what's up? Because if I'm going below 6, I'm going to the slipping version of myself. And if you can start to understand in the different areas of your life, okay, so you might say, I feel for me at a good enough level, I need to exercise 4 times a week. Okay, you can have that real line in the sand. And what we're using baseline behaviors is if I ever go below them, I've got to catch quickly. So I've got to go, oh, okay, last week I only did 3. So why is that? Then the thing is, we're all good problem solvers and we can all overcome these things. People don't catch the slip quick enough. And so in the areas like movement, again, you don't have to be extreme like me, but you might go, okay, well, I want to be aiming to do 3 or 4 basic exercise sessions a week. And I'm going to make that my baseline. And if I slip below, I'm not going to go on for 6 months or 3 weeks or whatever. The next week I want to catch and just ask myself why and how do I improve next time? Because when we can consistently keep you at your baseline, you're going to be at a good enough level.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
The idea that, we kind of touched on it previously, this idea that one of the reservations people starting is, I just don't have the time,
Yeah.
especially busy professionals.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah, so interesting. Go to my middle-aged men's products. My middle-aged men product is that market. So it's men 40 to 55, all massive career guys. We've got some pretty high-level dudes in this program. And that's their first problem. I don't have time. Time prioritization. That's the first problem I had to help them overcome. And so I think the first thing is you have to commit some time to working on yourself. Because it turns out that all these guys have got time to exercise because they're all now 4 months into it and they're all exercising 3 or 4 times a week. So they have got time, but they just told themselves that they didn't. And I actually think one of the best tools anybody can add to their life is an hour to stop each week and work on yourself. I think probably the number one tool in life is awareness. And going back to what I was saying earlier, like a lot of people get changed because they get so dissatisfied they have an awareness moment. Like I jump on the scales and I've hit 20 kgs. It's like, shit, I need to do something. Awareness is and there's kind of negative awareness and good awareness. So negative awareness is I've got to a level that I'm just so disappointed in that I need to make some change. And the positive awareness is being aware in a way that's trying to evolve me. So if you could just stop each week and just have some awareness in your life. So the thing I'm trying to do, and so the first habit I was trying to build with my boys was you're going to stop each week and work on yourself for an hour. Now, in this hour, there's an educational video they watch, so I'll give them education. But the other 3 things are awareness, reflection, and painting. It's all we're getting to do. What have you done well? Where can we improve? Looking at the week in front of you, how you're going to be successful, making sure you fit your exercise in.
It's very, very, very good. I think you could take this to a number of different areas in your life.
Oh, totally. Yeah, and but I actually think it's just awareness is number one tool in life. Because
I would agree. So he's with that. I think I would agree because with that awareness, the more that you have that awareness, the greater that you will feel the dissatisfaction when something fronts up that is not working for you, especially where you start to notice that there is an ability to control it in some way, to alter it or to change the path.
Well, that's why, I'm sure you're frustrated by this, but budgeting is so great for money. And why is it? Because it's just awareness. You like it's at the end of the day, all you're doing is you're being aware of what you're doing with your money.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like, anyone's going to be better off money if they stop and budget once a month. Anyone. It just because what you're doing is you're stopping and going, I'm being aware of my money right now. And then you look at your visa statement, it's, oh, jeepers, I wasted $100 on that. I'm not going to do that again. What you've done, you've created awareness. Now, when it comes to health and fitness, people don't really tend to have those tools.
No.
So for those that say, and budgeting is a really good example. Like I had a lady I was mentoring, she lost like 50 kg, but she was also really crap for money. So I'm kind of good with money. So I just said, let's do a budget. And I had to be really quite hard on her just doing a budget. And she bought her first house. She's like absolutely killing it. And all I did was go to do a budget because she was a good example of having a big shovel. So she was earning good money, but crap with money. And all we did was put awareness in her life. So I think that the most important thing is and you do want some structure around this, but if you could give yourself an hour a week, and you can literally just start with, what am I working on? What can I learn from last week? And how do I succeed this week? Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of people who listen to this and go, yeah, it's a good idea, but they don't do it. And that's the key, is that the doing's the thing. Like everyone knows. I mean, how many people have you told to do a budget in your career? And how many actually do it?
Well,
And
the doing, I think the doing part is in what you've already expressed. People you can get support where that might be a difficult thing for you to do. So the support,
that's what you do for finances, isn't it?
exactly. Like we will say, have you done the budget yet? I mean, there's a kind of, I don't like to put it negatively, but there's a kind of accountability or a shame that comes along with not doing it. So that forces you to do the thing. Well, then use that. So I think that's the same with a personal, fitness coach or anything like that. I think that's how you support yourself, especially when it's really tough. Get someone else to help you to begin with, and then start to remove the things that are impediments, whether it be narrative, storytelling, whether it be environmental, how you're living, your cookies in the cookie jar, whatever it is.
Here's the thing I always go back to is, we're all good problem solvers.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like most, well, there might be 2% of the population who aren't, but basically when we think about it, like, a good example is, if you've got a friend in your life who's got a problem, you can always solve it for them, can't you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You've always got the answer. And so that's why that kind of concept of stopping for an hour each week, if you just stop and go, what are my problems I'm working on right now? And what are the solutions I can find? People can answer those questions. And so for me, it's a big part of it is, even like budgeting. Budgeting is like, probably takes 20 minutes really, once you've got that system in place. It's that these things don't actually take much time, but the return on the time is huge. And that's what I'm finding with my men, is that they all came to me saying, I've got no time for exercise. Well, I gave them a tool of just stop and work on yourself, and here's some planning tools around it. Now they're actually doing the exercise. They're actually better at everything else in their life, because they're just seeing their problems each week. And what they have is, they have an awareness tool that they check in every week of their life.
Yep. Makes sense. So as we're sort of getting to the finish line of this episode, just maybe share, and you kind of have here, and it might be the same thing, but like whether on what your sort of main message would be to the It's Never About Money community about, what steps they can take to move forward with their fitness if, for instance, they're starting at a baseline 0.
Yeah, so it kind of is the stuff I said earlier. So it is accepting you need help. It is doing the research on the right person,
Yes.
trying to find the right environment.
Yes.
Invest. Like, it's funny. It's really funny. People don't want to spend money on their health. It does my head in. Like people, you'll get people say, oh, this product's $50 a week, and they'll go, oh, I can't afford it. But then I'll go to the pub and spend $100 at the pub. It's like, I get it. There's a level of population who's got no money. I get it. There's definitely a level. But even then, there's community groups. There's options out there. If you're not spending money on your health and fitness, something's wrong.
Yep.
Simple as that. Like, do you spend money on your health and fitness, Joe?
Well, I mean, this is not a mental health podcast, and, I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything that's too out of school, but I imagine that people present with a lot of stress and a lot of mental strain and present to, potentially mental health professionals, when in some cases, some of that impact may be reduced by actually having a good physical exercise regime, which reduces some of the impact of that stress and strain. So,
well, a lot of people who join our beginner group will come to us on the side and say, look, I've had mental health problems. This is helping unbelievably.
yeah,
So yeah, you're definitely right. So, so you have to invest, and you have to spend some money, but you do need to do the research, and then you got to allow yourself to be a beginner.
yeah,
Like, lose all your preconceived, go to that kind of mindset of, I'm a beginner, I'm going on this journey. And there are going to be some failure moments, and learning how to deal with it in a way that keeps you on track, all these types of things. But if you can build enough evidence over a period of time, you're going to wake up and you're going to be that person who goes, I'm an exerciser, or I'm a runner, or I'm a whatever that is. And when we think about identity, you mentioned this before, is that, to me, identity is two things. It's, if I'm not doing it, I feel dissonance. So I'm a fit guy who loves exercise. So if I'm not exercising, I feel dissonance. But also it's trust. It's trust that I know that I can continue doing this. And so, like, when I think of myself, I know I'm going to be that old lady running length in New Zealand, because I just trust
Yep.
that I've got this foundation of within me, And really, I think when we can get to that point where you trust, you'll know how to exercise, and you learned all the soft skills, and you've got all the right support and right expectations around that journey, mate. If you're listening to this right now and you're willing to go on this journey, like, your life's going to change in the most awesomest ways.
Yeah, and I hope the listeners also take this in the spirit it's delivered, or intended to be delivered. I mean, for me, it was never about preaching. It was really about empowerment, and the fact that this is really game changing. So whether it is that you dance, skip, hop, jump, spend time with friends doing it, spend time with potential partners in the future doing it, whatever it is, and how you choose to do it. Just, I think it's important to say that it can be done. You can do it. And Bevan, you're a living example of that, and you're helping people do that regularly. And it doesn't need to be as insurmountable a task as what you might think it is.
And just, I will give myself a plug here. My book, I Will Make You Passionate About Exercise, is based around a lot of the principles we've talked about today. And it's kind of it's designed in a way where we're taking people through a journey. So, like, literally, there's like each chapter is a challenge. And the first challenge is, over the next month, you'll do 3 or 4 exercise sessions a week. But there's always rules. It's got to be easy. It can't be hard. It's, so if you are wanting to go on that journey, you can check out my book. It's,
Yeah. We'll put it in the show notes as well. We'll put a link or something in the show notes, or at least a reference to that. So, and I thought I might just add a final question to this, that, I used to ask a different final question, but, given it's a health theme, this one, and I just thought, I think it's very clear, that, you're incredibly healthy and you do a lot of exercise, and touch wood, you live a long and healthy life. But I mean, if you only had 1 year left with good health, my question would be, how would you use that?
Do you know what? I'm like, I've figured life. It's going to say horrible, but I kind of think I figured life out, because my 3 passions are people, fitness, and music. That's all I care about.
People first, and what? Sorry, it's people.
People, fitness, and music. Those are my 3 passions.
Yep.
I love people. I love fitness, and I play piano. I play in a band, and that's kind of what I do every day of my life. So there might be some more extreme examples of it. Like, I might spend have deeper experience with some of the people in my life. So there might be a deeper level. But I've been very lucky in life. I figured out early on, the way I lead my life is I go, who am I? So what are my values? So for me, it's things like love, honesty, growth, fun, health, and so on. And then I go, what are my passions? Which are people, fitness, and music. And I just go, how do I grow myself? How do I set goals around those things? So how do I set goals around people, fitness, and music? It teaches me more about my passions, but also teaches me more about myself. And so I don't know if there'd be a lot of change, other than maybe more extreme levels of certain things.
Yeah, I didn't hear any conversation there about money. So, no.
And to be honest, I am very good with money. I've done well financially. And I'm really proud of the fact that I've never chased money to do that.
Yeah.
I've just a good, like, I'm the guy who did budget at the age of 20. I've budgeted for 30 years. And so, and luckily I put some investing aside, and I've done well on that side. But I never chased money as the thing. It was like, because to be honest, there's no money in fitness. If you want to work in fitness, you're not going to be worth millions of dollars at the end of your career. But man, I love fitness, so
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
yeah.
Well, again, I'd just like to thank you on behalf of the community for, coming on and chatting to us about something so fundamentally important. And I hope from this episode, we get some people deciding to change, not just on a short-term basis, but on a longer-term sustainable basis. And I think that will be well worth the time and the effort that we've both taken to do so. So again, I'd like to thank you for coming on, and really appreciate it.
And I want to say thank you for having me as well. And also, I just love what you're doing here, Joe. I love we spoke before we did this interview. I just loved that, what drives you as a person, and that you're out there trying to help your community in more than the obvious way with the finances, mate. It's really, really awesome.
Awesome. Thanks again.
If you have resonated in any way with the sentiments of this podcast, we would be delighted to direct you to our website, www.itsneveraboutmoney.com.au, for more free resources and education aimed at improving your capacity to make sound financial decisions for the benefit of your family. We wish you every success, however you define it.